have a question. In the light of your recent findings about how the cheaper solid-state amps are basically just as good as the Elite tube amps, I'm guessing you're not going to be selling your Reved, Deadwood, or Soldado. Why not? Why have those instead of, say, the Orange Supercrush 100? They're going to cost money replacing the tubes when they go bad while not actually sounding better.
Good morning, ladies, gentlemen, and bass players. How's everybody doing? Hope you're going to have an amazing weekend. Of course, this is time for SMG Viewers Comments, the show that's about you, not about me. Before we get going here, just want to say, yes, bit of a radical change here in the studio, changing things up quite a bit as to my workflow. Let's just put it this way. I am very excited about where the whole digital amp thing is going, so much to the fact I've been scratching my head for the last few weeks going, why do I have these giant tube amps here if I'm not going to be playing them all the time? So I made some changes and opened up the room. I've actually got some space in here to work now, finally. So we're going to be updating the studio over the next few weeks. Going to be setting some cameras up in some different angles and whatnot, and just basically making this a much more pleasant space to work in. It's going to be very cool. Anyway, let's get to your comments and questions right now.
Subscriptions and paywalls, I'm sick of it! Remember when streaming was supposed to be the ultimate way to get exactly what you want for cheap? Now subscriptions are just the same old model reinvented.
This is coming off the back of the great big Waves debacle where they decided to sneak in a subscription-only model to their customers. And the customer base basically said, yeah, not so fast, you motherfuckers. Yeah, man, I mean, the subscription model thing, I mean, if it's new software coming out and it's subscription to start with, that's one thing. But if you have an existing customer base that bought your plugins and they say, oh, now you've got to subscribe. Yeah, I kind of got to call bullshit on that. But I think you got a great point about the streaming platforms too. When Netflix came along, 10, 12 years ago, it was amazing because everything was there. Now we've got all these competing streaming platforms. It's like, I'm trying to look up where to find that 70 show. And I'm like, well, Peacock, I don't fucking have that. And I don't want to subscribe to that. That's the whole problem now where I think we're getting kind of option paralysis. That would be the word. And I definitely don't want to shell out for a bunch of different fucking subscriptions. I really don't, whether it's software or if it's TV. But here's the question I have for you guys. How many subscriptions are you willing to pay for? Where do you draw the line? I'm very curious. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think.
My wife was a photographer. It just wasn't my life choices that caused her to stop using Adobe Photoshop many years ago. I partially get it. You want a professional grade product that has a team of people holding the paychecks of the technician software redistribution hacks at every turn because the software is too complex that makes Apollo moon landing look like a garden stroll. However, I don't want to land on the moon no more than I need to drive an 18-wheeler to get to the convenience store. I just want to create some bread and butter art, music, mixing, images, etc. Creative people who actually create will make do with what they have that gets the job done at a competitive price, which is surprisingly low if you consider the open source market. Corporate sharks can keep on crafting another tier in an economic caste system that I can live without. Bye-bye, Adobe. It also looks like I'm going to be continuing to turn a blind eye to Waves as well.
Hey, Brian, great comment. I picked this one in particular because I thought I might be able to help, at least in terms of the photography front. Now, I do a lot of still images. I do a lot of photography, obviously, thumbnails, that kind of thing. And I need software that works, that's just going to do the thing without a lot of bullshit. So there's two programs I use that are paid for and you fucking own them. Number one, my replacement for Adobe Photoshop. I've been using this for the last 2-3 years now, is Affinity Photo. I think it was under $100. You add it outright. And honestly, for doing thumbnails, it absolutely rules because it's super easy to get the titles in place and do all kinds of layers and masks and all that kind of shit. It's just really fucking great. If you're sick to death of the Adobe model, definitely check that out. And if you're into photography, retouching, all that kind of stuff, and you were into Lightroom, I would highly recommend checking out Luminar Neo. Again, it's something I use all the time. It does AI retouching. It does it really fast, so you can spend more time doing other things rather than fucking around trying to fix your photos. Again, comes highly recommended. It's just in my day-to-day, and I only had to pay for it once. That seems to be kind of the rarity these days, seems to be the exception rather than the rule. And that's actually kind of fucking sad. That being said, there's a lot of great quality plugins out there that still let you buy them. McDSP, PSP, UAD, they all will let you either subscribe or buy. They give you a choice, and they're all absolutely fantastic. I can't recommend any over the others. They're all really fucking good.
Well, I think people need to make some kind of online syndicate. When stupid stuff shows up, people can act together, not buying or subscribing and finding alternatives, so companies will think about their moves.
I would agree that there is strength in numbers. Organized labor definitely figured that out back in the 1920s and 30s with the union movement, and that's starting to seem a bit of a resurgence these days because workers have been getting shat on so badly. As consumers, yeah, we can try and protect each other as well and drop hints. The thing is, we make changes when we work together. The Waves backlash is proof positive of that. Waves came out with this thing. The community as a whole said, not so fast, you motherfuckers. So the great thing is Waves did listen. The thing is, when we see something we don't like, we have to speak with our dollars. If we bitch and complain, that's one thing, but if we don't buy the product, that is the thing that companies actually pay attention to.
Open source freeware software has become a real option. Neural Amp Modeler has recently struck the G-spot of the profiting world with literally no foreplay.
You know, I really want to check this out, and it's like I want to get this done before I go to NAMM. I think I got about a week and a half to maybe shoot this, or at least take a quick look at it. I've heard so many good things about Neural Amp Modeler. I will definitely begin to take a look at it a little bit more closely. Hopefully I'll get a video out the door before I take off for NAMM. We'll see what happens. And of course, I've also got another question. Are any of you guys going to be at NAMM this year? Very curious to find out.
They stopped it only because killing the older plugins with the trial broke their contract with existing customers. It is a music development kit and material that you produce with it is your property. By killing the existing project that broke that clause, even a fourth-rate law student would win that case in court.
Now, I'm not a first-year law student, and I'm sure most of us watching this aren't law students either and don't quite understand the terms of legalese and whatnot. But if what you're saying is true and Waves broke their own terms with the subscription model, hey, that's kind of cool because, yeah, there's no way that would stand up in court. If anybody else has a background in law and can decipher that for the rest of us, I'd really appreciate that. Please leave a comment below and chime in and let us know what's going on there. Needless to say, Waves doing a 180 so quickly after announcing the subscription-only model thing is a really good thing for the consumer. Whether or not we're going to see the return of the $29.99 sales, though, I don't think that's going to happen anymore.
This sort of garbage is why I pretty much only use free plugs, with the one exception being Easy Drummer 2. None of these bigger guys can be trusted not to screw it with their customer base, and I also find they charge too much in general. Anyway, that's sadly becoming common across nearly every industry now.
Yeah, I think it's time for another video on my favorite picks for free plugins available to you guys, and maybe like do a mixed tutorial video, show you guys how I would work with free plugins. If that's something you'd like to see, again, I want to hear from you guys. Leave a comment below. I'm definitely hearing some good things about a number of different free plugin suites out there, so that's going to be interesting to see. And again, the Neural Amp Modeler, that's really got my interest because I've heard nothing but good things about it. And if that can replace a lot of our guitar recording single chains, hey, we could all wind up saving a whole lot of money.
I would love to see more news like this. I think it would be a killer addition to the channel to make this a weekly series even.
So you're talking about Wednesday's edition of the frickin' news. Yeah, I don't know. They're a lot of fun to do, but they're an awful lot of work. There's a lot of editing going on. There's a lot of images being slid in and out of the shots, that kind of thing. And it's kind of draining. The other big problem, the reason why I don't do the frickin' news very often, is because I just don't find a lot of stuff worth talking about, to be honest with you. I mean, the weekly show I do here is viewers' comments, and I've been doing that pretty much since the beginning of the channel. And that's because I love interacting with you guys. I love reading what you guys have to say and making comments on it because they can be great. There's some wonderful advice in there. There's some absolutely hilarious stuff. There's some really stupid statements as well. No stupid questions, just stupid statements. Plenty of those. And honestly, I think that's what's kept this show going for so long is you guys. If I start doing news, I'm going to have to start, making big stories out of shit that's, pretty fucking pointless. And I really don't want to do that. I want to do stuff that I find really interesting to me. And I think a lot of you guys find shit interesting as well. That being said, this is coming to Fearless Gear Reviews. This is the Slate VSX headphones. I had a lot of requests for an unsponsored review of this, so that's exactly what you're gonna get. I'm gonna try shooting this over the next few days. Once again, I hope to have this out in a week or two. Gonna try doing a couple mixes with it. Gonna grab the laptop, try mixing in a couple different rooms, see what that experience is all about. Just do some completely in the box stuff and see how well I make out. I really want to know, can we get the hell out of the studio and just do this in the box on headphones? I think that'd be really awesome. And considering it's 2023 and we're at a certain point with technology, I think it's inevitable that something like this is going to break the control room as far as mixing goes anyway.
This forced me to do something I was already considering, using stock plugins in my DAW. I A-B'd a mix I was working on switching over from waves, and guess what? I could not tell a difference. An EQ is an EQ, a compressor is a compressor. The magic of a $100,000 analog console is partly that, it's just that. The part people miss, however, is the professional engineer and producer sitting behind that console.
Again, a really amazing perspective there. You guys are knocking it out of the park with these comments, guys. This is all coming from Wednesday's episode of the Frickin' News. I think there's a good point there. I mean, like, are plugins really doing that much different to each other? Maybe that's another video I need to make. A big test video, a blind test. Hey, can you tell which mix was this versus which mix was that? The only software I ever worked with that really had any kind of profound effect in the actual tone of a mix was Harrison Mixbus, because that's designed to emulate an analog console. That definitely had a little bit of, I don't know what the fuck was going on, some kind of simulated saturation or something added to the mix. It was subtle, it was cool. And the last full-length record I did was mixed in Harrison Mixbus. At the time, though, it was a nightmare for editing, so I don't know. I need to revisit that and take a look at it. But when it comes to plugins, yes, I should definitely try doing that, shooting out a couple of different plugin suites and see what you guys think is the best mix. We'll take some nice high-end plugins and we'll shoot them out against some freeware, see what we get. I think that should be a really fun video to do. And that's exactly what happened back here. I was shooting out my tube amps versus Tonex and some other things, and I'm like, well, why am I taking up all this space when it's getting me pretty much the same result? This is the thing. Digital technology's come in a very long way, and I think as far as guitar amps have gone, I think the amp sim has finally came of age, and we can start to work with those, and we know we're going to get great results.
Glenn, can you recommend a USB audio box for capturing guitar? At the moment, I have just the Rocksmith cable, and with that, I have high latency. It's just for an intermediate beginner.
Intermediate beginner, that's like vanilla fudge or military intelligence. That doesn't quite make too much sense there, buddy. Seriously though, if you're looking for a great inexpensive audio interface, grab the Audient Evo 4. That will do the job just fine. It's like $129 at Sweetwater. You definitely can't go wrong with that. It's got tons of headroom. It's great for recording guitar, vocals, you name it. Get one of those, you're gonna be happy. Now, in other news, this episode sponsors 70,000 Tons of Metal, otherwise known as the most fun you'll ever have with your clothes on, is already gearing up for the 2024 cruise and just announced Puerto Plata in the Dominican Republic as next year's destination. The cruise will go from January 29th to February the 2nd, and if it's anything like this year's cruise, it is going to be absolutely nuts. It's 4.5 days of nothing but non-stop metal. I got to do the 2023 run, and it was a complete blast. I saw a ton of bands, including Dragon Force, Camelot, and Nightwish, plus many, many other bands. And I do mean many. But it's not just the band. There is so much to do, like shore excursions, all-night karaoke, meet and greet with the artists, and of course, the belly flop contest. The weather's great, the food's great, and most importantly, the people are great. The metal community on this cruise is really something else. Now, if you're a headbanger and you haven't signed up for 70,000 Tons of Metal, I've got to ask, why the hell not? It's a seriously amount of fun, and I hope to see you guys on board in January 2024.
This is why he will never hatch. Huge following, Phil McKnight, undertones are way better than Big Mouth.
Hey there, John. Thanks so much for writing in. Obviously, you're commenting about Tuesday's video, which was on the Bogren amp, not the 5150-666 model. Yeah, great, just awesome amp sim. I'm sorry if I ruffled your feathers there a little bit. Oh well, you'll get over it. It's funny though about undertones. I've never quite heard them called that. That's actually pretty good, man. Well done. But hey, man, do me a favor. Once you're done typing in all the complaints about my videos and how much I suck, please go look up some basic reading comprehension lessons, because illiteracy is everyone's problem.
I didn't want to believe people got upset about the goat head until you showed the actual comments. But then again, I had some guy want to fight me at a grocery store one time over my black witchery hoodie. So I should have known there'd be people who would get bent out of shape over something as innocuous as a goat head.
Sadly, this is the world we live in today, where superstition seems to supplant reason. Sorry you got accosted over your hoodie. What can I say? Fundamentalists of any breed suck.
As a Christian, I must speak up. The BDH3 sounds great alone, but I hated it in my mixes. Maybe it's just my personal taste, I don't know. Because it doesn't sound as good, y'all make it sound on YouTube. Like, for reals, what's the actual plugin chain? I hear it here, awesome. I hear it in my recording, and caca.
Hey, dude, thanks so much for writing in. Hopefully I can help here. The thing you got to remember about the amp knob is just turn the knob and then leave it the fuck alone. Let it do its thing. If it's not sounding good in your mixes, it probably comes from a weak bass tone. You might want to think about changing up how you're processing that. First and foremost, put new strings on your bass. Make sure you've got something sitting in the frequency spectrum well underneath what the guitars are doing. Guitars do take a great broad range of that spectrum, but the amp knob kind of targets them to where they should be, and it leaves lots of room for a big fat bass guitar. Try that, and then try a bus compressor to kind of glue everything together. I would have normally recommend the Waves SSL, but hey, let's not do that. So, maybe the Slate FG Gray, something like that. Set your mix to a 4:1 ratio, 30 millisecond attack, and auto release about 4 dB, and go for about 4 dBs of reduction. Try that. That should help make everything fit together. But that's about it. You don't really need to do much. The whole idea behind the amp knob is don't fuck with it. Just set it and it will do the thing. Again, don't fuck with it. I know guitar players love to overcomplicate things, but trust me, this one's gonna work. It's designed to work. Right on the box. Turn the knob, and that's it.
When you say this works great in a mix, would you still be adding compression and EQ to the guitar sound created by the Sims at the mixing stage? Or are you implying that you don't need much more as the compression and EQ when using this because those things are kind of built into the sound already to make it more idiot-proof?
As stated numerous times in the video, David, it is designed to work in the mix just by turning the knob. It's supposed to be idiot-proof. Unfortunately, guitar players, for the most part, are idiots and think they need to keep adding EQ and shit when they don't need to. Seriously, guys. Turn it on, turn the knob, that's it. Play your fucking guitar. It'll sound good. Try it. No, seriously. Just leave it the fuck alone. I mean it.
It's not all about how it sounds in the recording. You act like it's the only purpose of the instrument. Different pickups have different dynamics that can change your playing and do sound different through amplifiers.
Hey, Jake, that's a really interesting perspective. My only question is, can you name any records where that actually fucking happened? I watched Jim Lill's video. I'd recommend you watch Jim Lill's video. He makes a great point. Every guitar sound on any record you ever loved went through a fucking microphone. You can talk about different dynamics and how things change through amps, but it is about how it sounds on a record, because that's how we play back what we've recorded. And in case the name of the channel was a little too subtle for you, it's Spectre Sound Studios. That means we're all doing recording-based content. Sorry for making that a little too cryptic for you.
Also, I know you tested out AI plugins before, but can we stop with encouraging creatives to phase out other creatives with AI tech? I have this feeling that the only purpose for the use of AI is the uncreative field, and what we are sold on is just the enticing bait before the hook gets swallowed.
Well, man, here's the thing, we can complain about AI all we want. I don't think it's going to change anything. And the thing is, say, take painting, for example. I think, there's going to be a lot of AI art coming out these days, but I think people are still going to prefer the real thing. Here's another thing where technology's gone too far and too bad. Auto-tune. It's like, it might make things sound okay and maybe sometimes somewhat good, but I've never heard a truly great record done with auto-tune. That still hasn't happened yet. No matter how much people try and say, oh, it works, it's great, it's awesome. It really does take something away from the music, and it's like the sooner we realize that some things are worth pushing ourselves for to get that artistic je ne sais quoi, pushing things to the envelope, pushing the human condition to the envelope. That's always where the interesting stuff happens. And AI is just going to be another technology for people to abuse, but I think some people are still going to absolutely appreciate the real thing. I would hope, anyway.
Damn glad, looking good, mate. You really got in shape.
Oh, I don't know how true that is. Dude, I just had my hair tied back. Truth be told, I think I put some weight on since I got down to my lowest, which was about 263, 262 a couple of years back. I really need to get on my feet and get walking again, I think. That's something I need to do quite a bit, honestly, and that's something I'm going to try as soon as the weather warms up a little bit more. This is something I want to document on the show. You guys have been very encouraging about that, so it's something I want to get back into, and it's something maybe if I do like a weekly shorts vlog on it or something like that, maybe that give me a little more motivation to get up off my ass and go do something. But again, I really do appreciate the kind words. Anyway, yeah, I'm shooting this Wednesday night at almost like 11 o'clock at night. It's been a long day. I was struggling to get that news episode out the door, and then I thought, hey, let's try doing an episode of Viewers Council, and realized I had to get half my stuff hooked back up over here. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what comes up in the studio over the next few weeks, where everything winds up getting placed and whatnot. I plan on doing a studio tour video, hopefully in May. You know, I'm still cleaning the place up a bit. Like I said, the whole thing for me is just about maximizing the efficiency of my space. And it turns out I don't need to have, 8 to 10 tube amps sitting here just taking up space when I'm only going to be playing 1 or 2. That's the thing. I didn't sell my tube amps. They've been moved into the other room and some have been put into storage and whatnot. I'm only going to be using the ones that I absolutely must use in a video. But for the most part, honestly, I'm probably going to be reaching for Tonex or the amp knob or stuff like that just because it's going to be a whole lot easier and it sounds fucking incredible. Once again, guys, I think the digital amp sim has finally arrived. It's been a long, hard road, but as of late, the tones I've been getting have been very, very nice. And you guys have been complimenting me on them as well. So there is that. So yeah, buckle your seatbelts. It's going to be an interesting ride. Anyway, thanks so much for watching the show, all that. Sorry for the lack of screaming tonight. Just like I said, it's been a long day, but just want you guys to know I really do appreciate you being there week after week with your comments and questions. It really does make it all worth it. So thank you so much. You guys have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and I will see you guys back here in a few days. Take care.